injuries have been and what the consequences can be if he continues to play. So I think from that point of view, the decision's been made and a good one, because there's a hell of a lot of life to live after you leave footy.
As expected, Scott Ninnis has been appointed new head coach of the Adelaide 36ers. He signed a 2-year contract. He steered the Sixers through the last 15 games of the season as interim coach and says getting the job full-time is a dream come true. Now checking 5AA traffic.
G'day there. Roads looking good for the drive home this afternoon. Not great drama. Simply some work to look out for. You'll find them at Maslin's Beach, Commercial Road near Golf Parade. Bit sluggish at Henley Beach South at the moment. Seaview Road near Henley Beach Road, and works at Bedford Park, slowing things up too. Main South Road near Flinders Drive splits at 40. Getting busy South Road at Edwardstown with a camera at Main Road at Blackwood. Not all homes are perfect for you. That's why with Burbank Homes, you can adapt their floor plans to suit your lifestyle. You'll love building with Burbank. Search burbank.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
And the latest forecast, sunny today, a top of 33. Tomorrow, cloudy, back to 23 after an overnight low of 15. Then cloud clearing on Saturday, 28. Currently, it's 30. Now let's hear what's happening on 9 News tonight.
I'm Brenton Branglis. Tonight, a breakthrough in the murder of a southern suburbs mum. Adelaide's Cancer Centre catastrophe. How much could it cost taxpayers? A former Channel 10 presenter and his partner missing. Police search their home. New help to shrink mortgage repayments. Plus, new planes, better Wi-Fi and improved food. The Qantas bosses promise to customers. 9 News, your news, nightly at 6 on 9 and on 9 Now.
With more stores close to home and everyday low prices, great food lives at Foodland, the mighty South Aussies.
5AA Afternoons with Stacey Lee.
It's 6 minutes past 3 here on 5AA. Stacey Lee with you for our afternoons, and we are live on the Facebook and YouTube live stream thanks to Foodland Supermarket. So hello if you're on the live stream. 8223 0000 is the phone number if you'd like to join the conversation on any of the matters we've been discussing today. I have a Wallace Cinemas family pass to give out to the best caller today, so make sure you keep the phone by 8223 0000. It's also the number you need for our ticket giveaway today for the Fringe. I have a double pass to see Rouge at Gluttony. It's an adults circus, so you need to keep an ear out for some circus music, and when you hear it, call me and the tickets are yours. 8223 0000 is the number to call. But now, it's time for this.
Helping you save a few dollars. Who you gonna call? Cost Busters.
Our cost buster this week, joining me in the studio, is Chloe McLeod. She's a dietitian and nutritionist with Verde Nutrition Co. based in Adelaide. Chloe, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me again, Stacey.
Now, today we're talking about choice.
We sure are.
Choice in a lot of different areas when we're doing our shopping, and this is one that I struggle with every time I go to the supermarket. Bread, because there are so many options out there that sometimes it's overwhelming. It used to be brown or white.
It sure did. But now there's an entire almost half an aisle, I think, when it comes to the bread.
Yeah. So where do you even begin when you're telling people, what bread is best?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and there's a few different factors that I look for when I'm looking at a healthy bread. And it doesn't need to be the most expensive one. It doesn't need to be the cheapest one. There's some really great options at any price point when you're looking in the supermarket. The key things that I'm looking for are the darker and seedier it is, the better. Make jokes about nightclubs and that sort of thing. Yeah. But honestly, the darker and seedier, the better. And often this is because it's been less processed. It means it's going to break down more slowly, give you a slower growth of energy after you've consumed it. And it tends to have a little bit more fibre as well. So it tends to feed those healthy gut bugs that are within your digestive tract a little bit more effectively as well.
Ah, okay. Because if I'm going by taste, I like white bread.
Sure.
I like just home brand, white bread, whatever the cheapest, nastiest white
with
bread
the
is
sausage.
there.
Yeah. Great. It's delicious.
And is it, and you constantly have it drilled into you that it's not good for you, white bread's not great. So I don't buy it all too often.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that I like to look at it is everything can have its place, but what is going to be the best option on a daily basis. So, if you want to have that home brand white bread occasionally, and that's just something you have as a bit of a treat, sure, but it's not the healthiest option that's out there. If it needs to be white, then you can get some really good high fibre options when you're in the supermarket. So just look for high fibre on the label, and then when you flip it over and have a look at the nutrition information panel, it needs to have more than 3 grams of fibre per serve to be called high fibre, more than 6 per serve to be very high in fibre. So there are a couple of options of white breads that hit the mark with that.
Yeah.
It does tend to be a bit easier to hit the mark with that, though, with a lot of the more wholemeal, whole grain, rye, sourdough type options instead. And I think sometimes it's also a little bit what you get used to. The other thing I'm going to call out for any of the dentists who might be tuning in is often I hear, but you shouldn't be having the ones with the seeds in them because it can be a little bit damaging to your teeth. Sometimes they can get stuck and that sort of thing. My response to that is it is an individual thing, and people who have maybe slightly more fragile teeth or need to be mindful of those things, that's something to discuss with your dentist, with your dietitian. But for the majority of the population, I think the seedy breads are a pretty good option.
Yeah. I mean, that's what floss is for, isn't it?
Sure.
That's why we floss our teeth.
That's why we go to the dentist.
Yeah. If you do see someone with something in their teeth, are you inclined to tell them? Or are you...
I am.
You are?
Yeah, I am, because I would want to know.
Yes.
So that's the way I'm like, I'd want to know if it's there, so I will tell that person.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about the way you do it. You can do it politely. You can say,
course.
You've just got a little
Yeah, exactly.
bit of broccoli. Get that out.
Don't get up on the stage and be like,
Yeah. You in the second row. No, but I'm the same. If I ever get home and there's something on my face or in my teeth, I think, why didn't no one tell me?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm the same.
And if you've got a question for Chloe, or if you are thinking, do I need this type of bread or this type of bread? Is it really that bad for me? Let us know. 8223 0000 is the number to call. And I guess that's why I end up buying wholemeal bread, because I know it's healthier for me. But you touched on the white breads that are higher fibre. So is it just the fibre content that is higher in wholemeal bread? Or sometimes I do look at them, and there was a while I was doing sort of a high protein.
Yeah, there's some really great options for higher protein breads that are on the market now as well. And I think, as I said before, everything can have its place. So there's a couple of brands that are doing like 85% more protein than your traditional bread. And for people who are needing a higher protein diet or needing lower carbohydrate intake, then those can be a really fantastic option. And again, they'll often have some of the seeds and different bits and pieces in them. I think if you are looking for more that white bread that that is nice and fluffy and everything, then still making sure that you're choosing that high fiber option, but also choosing something that ideally has maybe been fortified with some other nutrients as well, just to make sure that you're not missing out on some of the other things that you might have been getting from those more wholemeal or whole grain type breads. So a lot of them will be fortified with iron and B12 and folate and some of those sorts of things. So there's some nutrients which are particularly important. I think to come back to your mention though about the higher protein breads, I think if we're looking at it from a sandwich perspective, sometimes it can be difficult to know what to put in your sandwich from a protein perspective. So choosing a bread that's got extra protein in it can be a really good way to kill two birds with one stone, if you like, and get a little bit of carbohydrate in, but get that protein in instead of relying on some poorer quality protein choices that you might need to put in there otherwise.
Some of the seedy breads, because I was looking at the nutrition information on it for that high protein sort of low fat thing I was doing for a while, they can be quite high in fat. Is that because they've got a lot of nuts and stuff in them?
That's exactly right. So the nuts and seeds, they are high in fat, but it's usually healthy fats that they're high in. So I'm not so concerned about that. I actually want you to eat those ones because they tend to have some really great fat-soluble nutrients in them as well that help with reducing inflammation in the body, help with cellular production, all sorts of different things. So incorporating those in is a really great thing to do.
8223 0000 is the number to call if you have a question. And Lee in Croydon is on the phone. Hi, Lee.
Just have a question about bread, please.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Chloe's listening.
Okay, what I would love to know, do you have a low-carb suggestion? We're in mid-50s here, and we're just trying to be more healthy, weight conscious, lose a bit of weight. So we're really focusing on the carbs number. So can you make a suggestion that's a nice, healthy, low-carb bread? Yes, high protein is very good when we're on our diets, but something that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah, I think that's where it gets a bit more tricky, because a lot of the lower carbohydrate breads that are higher in protein, they are that slightly higher price point. So something like the Bergen or the Helga's options, they both do a really great high protein, low carb option, but from a supermarket bread, they're that higher price point. And I would have a look at, and off the top of my head of the lower price points of those, but I would have a look at when you're in the supermarket, some of the ones which are in that same section, but maybe on the lower shelves. So not necessarily calling out any particular brands here, but there are some potentially some lower cost options that would still fit that mark, but maybe not quite the same price point. And same sort of thing with wraps as well. There's some pretty great wraps on the market that are the higher protein, lower carbohydrate option.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a battle, but I'll keep searching, and thank you for your information.
No problem.
Thanks for the call, Lee. That's Lee in Croydon. 8223 0000 is the number if you have a question for Chloe. We'll be back talking about lots of different options for milk and yogurt as well, because there's so much choice at the supermarket now. So, yeah, we'll talk about that in just a moment.
Rowie and Timmy G on the 5AA Sports Show.
I'm going to make a massive call here. If Balderstone, as the ruck coach, and Riley O'Brien can increase where he can connect with his midfielders a lot better, where there's clean footy out of there, that is a massive tweak to how you play.
Rowie and Timmy G.
I reckon it's worth 2 spots on a ladder. There you are.
There you go. Where'd you finish last year?
That gets you in the 8, and they know it.
4 p.m. weekdays on 5AA.
Be a change maker in healthcare. Join Adelaide Clinical Trials for Healthy Volunteers.
Your involvement could lead to breakthroughs of potential new medications,
such as a potential medication to reduce the risk of coronary artery disease for people who have additional risk factors for it.
Don't miss the chance to contribute to a healthier future.
Enrol in C08123 today by visiting cmax.com.au.
That's cmax.com.au.
Who can fix the shower?
Service today.
Who can fix the power?
Service today.
With thousands of positive reviews, it's no wonder that Service Today is the most recognised and respected home service company rated by Australians. Our licensed technicians can help with all your plumbing, electrical, heating, cooling and home security needs. So when you need reliable home services, at Service Today, the answer will always be, yes we can.
Yes we can is what we say at Service Today.
Google Service Today to book one of our experts.
The Earl of Leicester is not your ordinary pub. It's got all your favourite Aussie pub classics on the menu, but they do like a British twist. The Earl's Chicken Schnitzel is bigger than Big Ben. It's a not-so-ordinary 600-gram plate-hanging schnitty. A schnitty that size isn't for the faint of heart. And once you start, you'll need to keep calm and carry on. The Earl of Leicester, Parkside. It's a little bit British.
Cup of tea, dear. The kettle's on. Would you like a cup of tea, love?
Cup of tea, dear.
What? If you're concerned about hearing loss for a loved one, book an appointment with Can Do Hearing. CanDoHearing.com.au. That sounds better.
The passing of someone close places unique stress on family and friends. At this time, Farrell and O'Neill Funerals are here to provide reassurance and peace of mind. Farrell and O'Neill offer creative guidance and advice to tailor a service that best honours your loved one. Whether a large gathering or a small, intimate service, Farrell and O'Neill share their generations of experience in tailoring a unique and meaningful farewell. Proudly SA family owned and operated. Because it's personal.
Shopping should be exciting, not dull. An adventure, not a chore. And fresh, not routine. So experience something new at Newton Central with Drake's, Serenity Hair & Co, Fandy Scissorhands, Terry White Chemist, Glitter and Polish Nail Salon and many more. Including the brand new Séjour Club, an independent boutique with one-of-a-kind handcrafted apparel and jewellery from 2 local designers. Want something new in your life? Choose a new local. Choose Newton Central, Gorge Road, Newton.
With more stores close to home and everyday low prices, great food lives at Foodland, the mighty South Aussies.
5AA Afternoons with Stacey Lee.
At 20 minutes past 3, live on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream this afternoon. And Chloe McLeod is in the studio. She's a dietitian and nutritionist from FIVEAA Nutrition Co, answering any of your questions that you might have. But today, for our Cost Busters chat, we're specifically talking about all of the different choices that are out there for bread and milk and yogurt. Because there's so many now, Chloe.
So many options.
We've got Mary from Narracott on the phone. Good afternoon, Mary.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you. A bit hot.
Hot, yeah, I know. Now you've got a question, Mary?
Yes, please. I want to know if Chloe can tell me how to cook steel-cut rolled oats. They're driving me mad.
Thanks for calling in, Mary. The best way to cook them is to soak them overnight first, because otherwise they can take a really long time to cook. So standing at the stove forever and ever and ever. So soak them overnight in milk or in water so that they can soften really nicely. And then if you're cooking them on the stove or in the microwave, just make sure you've added some extra of the fluid in. So whichever you'd like to use, the milk or the water, so that there's plenty there for them to soak up and cook properly. They will take a little bit longer than your standard rolled oats or quick oats, but the steel ones are great because they're very low GI, so they'll keep you full for ages.
Well, thank you very much. I'll give that a go.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for calling.
Bye.
Enjoy, Mary. Call us back next week and let us know how you go. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay.
Enjoy the oats in the meantime. Thanks for the call. That's Mary in Narracott. 8223 0000 is the number to call. Let's talk about milk.
Yes,
Chloe.
Let's do it.
There's so many options. Full cream, skim, light, lactose-free light. And that's not even getting into the plant-based
It sure
milks.
isn't. Do you know what? I find the milk, the milk options in the supermarket, it's probably the question I get asked about more than anything else, of which milk should I be drinking, because it's so confusing for people.
Yeah.
I think the thing to think about is if you're fine having dairy-based milk, then to be honest, I don't really mind if you choose full cream, skim, low fat, whichever. It's more of a taste preference in my mind, to be honest, unless there's a specific health reason to need a lower fat option. So, if you'd asked me when I finished uni which one to choose, I would have been like, it needs to be the low fat because, that's the way we should be choosing. The science has changed, the world's changed a little bit, and I'm significantly less concerned about the little bit of fat that's in a full cream coffee or whatever it might be that you're having your milk in. Same sort of deal if it's a lactose free. So if you need lactose free because you're sensitive to the lactose, which is the naturally occurring sugar that is in dairy milk, which can cause stomach upset for some people, no problems with choosing that. But again, choose the full fat or the low fat, whichever one you would prefer. I think it gets a little bit more tricky and nuanced when it comes to the plant-based milks though, because they're not the same. And a lot of the nutrition profile is quite different with those than it is compared to dairy milk. The one which is actually the most similar is soy milk. So it's got the most similar level of protein compared to other options from a plant-based perspective. The main thing to consider there, though, is making sure it's been fortified with calcium, which is really important for bone health. And this is across the board with all of your plant-based milks, whether it's almond, oat, soy, rice, coconut, whichever one it is. I'd really implore you to choose one which has been fortified with calcium. Most Australians don't consume enough calcium when we look at the statistics. Osteoporosis is a huge issue for the older parts of the population. So it doesn't matter how old you are though, making sure you're keeping your calcium intake up is really important, and milk is one of the really easy ways to go about doing that. Will it just say it on the carton if it's got extra calcium in it? Because I drink soy. Perfect. So, Purely because it makes my gut feel better, and I've been drinking it for so many years that there weren't really lactose-free options.
And now you're used to it, right?
Yeah, and now I'm used to it, so I like drinking it now.
Yeah, so it will usually, at least, it will have it on the nutrition information panel. So there's a little rectangular box on any packaged food that you buy that has a breakdown of the protein, fat, overall energy,
and any other sort of nutrients which they need to call out, and it will list calcium on there if it's in there. And you want it to be about 300 milligrams of calcium per serve to be in line with what you'd be getting in your dairy-based option. Some of the brands, they will call it out on the front of the label because it is a highlight.
Marketing,
but they don't all. And to be honest, it's actually even confusing in between brands. So some brands will have some of their range with calcium and some without, which is annoying when you're trying to recommend products to people. But there's, I think, some really great options for plant-based milks as long as they have that calcium added into them. And a lot of the brands, they'll have other nutrients added in as well as a way to make them more similar to those dairy options. So, yeah.
There you go. It is 3:25 here on 5AA. A little bit of breaking news to bring you from the CFS. There has just been issued an advice level warning for a bushfire in Upper Hermitage. So this is near Warner Road and Range Road North. If you're in the area, the CFS says stay informed, monitor conditions, and more information will be provided shortly. They're going to update the situation in about 45 minutes' time if the situation changes. So stay informed. Keep your battery-powered radio next to you so you can stay informed because we'll bring you the latest as that happens. If you do want to call the CFS, their info line is 1800 362 361. That bushfire in Upper Hermitage in the Mount Lofty Ranges. Yeah, it's a hot one today. We did have some fire warnings out this morning as well. So stay alert, stay informed as much as you can. Now, while we're talking about milk, Chloe.
Yes.
Yogurt is in a similar vein. There are so many options out there.
I think it's even more confusing than the milk, to be honest, because I know I'll take my kids into the supermarket. I actually try to avoid taking my kids into the supermarket, to be honest. Because,
Yes.
But you take them in and they're like, oh, I want these ones, I want these ones. And yeah, there's so many options. Some of them are just, we just shouldn't be buying them. In my opinion, they shouldn't be on the shelves, but there's some amazing options for yogurts as well, which is what
really
I want to
high
focus
sugar
on today.
ones.
Yeah, so particularly some of the ones which are, and I don't want to call out brands in this particular instance when I'm saying things aren't great, but there's a number of brands that are particularly high in sugar and are so processed there ends up being nothing much good left in them. So just being a bit mindful when choosing different options for yogurt. As I said, though, there's some awesome options for yogurts that are available as well. So choosing ones which are more, if they're not flavoured, the brand doesn't really matter so much, to be honest. And this is because there's less additives, there's been less processing happening, as long as it's still, that sort of higher protein option, which most of them tend to be, like a standard yogurt tends to be pretty high in protein anyway. So that tends to work really well. If you're choosing one that has been flavoured, then just checking the sugar content and choosing ones which have less sugar added into them. So if it is a fruit flavoured one, there will be some added sugar, just choosing one that has a bit less. So aiming for less than 10 grams per serve, less than 10 grams per 100 grams is what I'd be recommending from a flavoured yogurt perspective if it's been flavoured with fruit. If it's not flavoured with fruit, then it needs to be even less than that. So
now I can't believe I'm actually asking this question as a Greek person, but I always just buy Greek yogurt.
Yeah, cool.
Don't know why.
Keep doing it.
That's just what we do. What is the difference? What's normal yogurt, Greek yogurt?
Yeah, so it's actually to do with how it's been made. So the Greek yogurt's been strained more times, so it ends up being higher in protein because of how it's been formed, and it ends up being a little bit less liquidy often than some of the other options. So traditional Greek yogurt gets strained more, and then the protein that gets strained out gets added back in and without as much of the liquid.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, because it does have a different consistency. It's a bit thicker.
It is a bit thicker, exactly. But awesome option. Keep doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deal. I can do that.
Love it.
Easy. That's good to know. At least one of the choices I'm making is the right one.
No, you're doing lots of things really well.
Bread, not so good. Yogurt, good. Chloe, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
No worries at all. Thanks so much for having me.
That's Chloe McLeod, nutritionist and dietitian at FIVEAA Nutrition Co., based in Adelaide. Our Costbusters chat every Thursday. Next week will be food related as well. Mandy Hall will be in trying to give you some tips about ending food waste, and also similar chat but different. use by and best before dates. What's the difference, and when should you really listen to them, and when can you maybe ignore them and give it a little bit of leeway? So, yes, I'm very excited about that. But it's 2:30, time for news headlines now. After that, Annabelle Crabb will be in the studio. She's got a show at Fringe this year. I want to ask her, is it the first time she's been in the Fringe instead of attending Fringe, and how's she feeling about that as someone who's grown up in Adelaide? That must be an interesting transition to make. So that's coming up after these news headlines.
This is Adelaide's FIVEAA.
David Bruce with the latest news headlines. Police have arrested a second person in relation to the death of a woman whose body was found after a fire in her home at Aldinga Beach in October last year. Qantas has reported a 13% profit slump in a year. Migraine sufferers are feeling the pain after an Australia-wide shortage of vital medication. And Demon star Angus Brayshaw has been forced into early retirement because of ongoing issues with concussion. Now, the latest forecast. Sunny today, cloudy, and back to 23 tomorrow. Currently 31. More news at 4, and as it happens on 5AA.
Hi, I'm Bronte Manuel from Toop and Toop Real Estate. Since March 2020, the value of an average home in Adelaide South has grown by $288,000, in the north $243,000, and in the west by $273,000. And the median price in central Adelaide and the hills has soared by $358,000. From Westbourne Park to Windvale, from Kensington Park to Kilkenny, we've led the charge with 52 suburb records, more than any other agency in South Australia. Go to toop.com.au to find out more.
It's easy to get behind the wheel of a new Mawson Lakes Volkswagen right now. In fact, it's ridiculously easy. All you need to do is head to the showroom on Salisbury Highway. Check out the range of new and demo Volkswagens on sale now, and then pick your favourite. How easy is that? All stock is ready for immediate delivery, with easy finance options available. And remember our next day servicing. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, Salisbury Highway, just a short drive from the city.
Chill out this summer with Barnacle Bill's Seafood Chicken and Chill Meal with a bonus Gelista Gelato for only $33. Mouth-watering butterfish, prawns, calamari, chicken tenderloins, chips and tartare sauce, all freshly prepared, together with a delicious 570ml Gelista Gelato. Barnacle Bill's Seafood Chicken and Chill Meal, only $33. And for your convenience, phone ahead, order, collect, don't wait.
Fresh from the sea, there's gotta be Barnacle Bill.
The sun takes its toll on everything, but cover things up and they last longer. Well, the same goes for you. 2 in 3 Aussies will be diagnosed with skin cancer, which kills twice as many men as women. So check the UV every day, then slip on a shirt, slop on some sunscreen, slap on a hat, seek some shade, and slide on your sunnies. Download the SunSmart app today and stay SunSmart. A message from Cancer Council SA and the Government of South Australia.
Hear that? That's a breath of fresh air. Something we'll get to enjoy more of, with new laws creating more outdoor smoke-free and vape-free areas from 1st of March 2024. The laws apply to schools, childcare settings, children's sport, public swimming pools, major events, hospitals and jetties. To find out more about the new laws and how we're clearing the air for South Australians everywhere, visit clearingtheair.sa.gov.au. That's good. A message from the Government of South Australia.
Afternoon Aldi shoppers, this is a message for Kate Hassler in aisle 3. Hey, we know you see other supermarkets.
What? You do?
Yeah, it's cool. Really. Go get that smoked herring paste next door.
You're just saying that.
Nah, I mean it. But you'll save more if you shop at Aldi first.
You'll always be my first shop.
We love you.
What about me?
We love you too, Pete. Aldi. Good. Different.
With more stores close to home and everyday low prices, great food lives at Foodland, the mighty South Aussies.
5AA Afternoons with Stacey Lee.
At 26 minutes to 4 here on 5AA, Foodland Supermarket's Facebook and YouTube live stream if you want to jump on and check it out, because my next guest is in the studio, Annabelle Crabb, a name you know well. She's on the ABC doing kitchen cabinet, but she's here for Fringe, for a Fringe show, the grilling season with Annabelle Crabb. Hello, Annabelle. Thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be back in my hometown.
I was about to say, welcome back home. You must love getting home.
I do, and now I've got into a pattern of using the Fringe as an excuse to bring my family back to Adelaide and South Australia. It's now that I've discovered I can do this, I'm going to become a recidivist pest, because ever since I was at uni here, I've loved coming to the Fringe, and this is the most ridiculously fun time of year to be in Adelaide.
Oh.
And my children are obsessed with it, so I'm sort of under professional pressure to come up with show ideas so that they can enjoy the Fringe. I mean, it's a terrible life I lead.
Will they get to your show, do you think? Or will they
Oh, yeah. Well, look, my youngest daughter has quite a reputation for impersonating me online. And
Yes, I've seen some of your videos.
Yeah, humiliatingly enough, that kid wearing a curly wig and crazy glasses and wittering on about, old Malcolm Turnbull cooking show, has actually, I think, had more views on Instagram than anything I've done in my professional life, which is nice.
You must be such a proud mum.
Oh, I am such a proud mum. But look, my kids have been around politics for a long time, and my eldest daughter, who's now 17, loves the Fringe. She, when she was about 4, once picked up my phone and accidentally dialed Tony Abbott.
Oh.
Yeah, and
When he was Prime Minister? Or?
No, this is ages ago. And I first became aware of the situation when I could hear that there was someone on the other end of the phone, and I could hear this, hello? Hello? It was like so unmistakably Tony Abbott. And that would have been fine if I hadn't just written a column in that morning's paper where I described him as a suicide bomber. And I thought, I can't believe this kid has rung exactly the person who might be cross with me.
So did you pick up the phone and say, sorry, Tony?
Look, I find when you're in these situations that the best thing to do is put a smile on your face and own up and say exactly what you're worried about. So I said, hi, Tony. Oh, my gosh, my daughter's just called you, and isn't that ironic given that I've just written a whole column about you today, which I'm sure if you've seen, you won't have enjoyed. And he just laughed his head off. Like, that man has got the ability to laugh at himself. So, it was, fun.
And it's those sorts of insights that you're going to be talking about during the grilling season with Annabelle Crabb. So you've got a few dates, Friday the 23rd to Sunday the 25th and Saturday 16th and 17th.
Yes, I've got 3. I've got tomorrow night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and then a little rest. And then back in March.
You're back for March.
Yeah.
Yep. And they're on at Gluttony in the Flamingo. I love the sell for this.
Oh, yeah.
Hear the tale of the gnocchi that foretold the end of a political career, the scariest salad in politics, and the amazing things that you can learn from onions.
Well, the onion in particular is a very revelatory vegetable. I mean...
Is this regarding Tony Abbott as well, when he bit into the onion?
Obviously, we learned a lot about Tony Abbott, and this show is not all about Tony Abbott, by the way, when he ate one raw.
Yes.
I mean, I think that was an epochal, nation-changing moment.
It was.
But there's a couple of other ways that I've learned about politicians through onions, which I'll go into in probably more detail than is strictly necessary. But look, I mean, the thing is, I started out writing about politics here in South Australia, worked for the Tiser. I was in the dungeon that is the South Australian, the Tiser's Politics Bureau in Parliament House on North Terrace. And that's also where the cafe was down there. I don't know if it still is. The Blue Room,
yes,
right?
It's still there.
And, I noticed there that even when, as a reporter, you're reporting on politics, there's so much detail, you get overwhelmed. Best thing to do is to grab a sandwich with somebody and have a chat without a notebook out, and it's a quick way of learning. And it worked exactly the same way when I moved to federal parliament in 1999. And I'm also quite aware that sometimes if you include a beer in the equation, you might even find out more stuff. So I've always used food as a way to find out things in politics. But then when I started making kitchen cabinet and cooking with politicians, I found out that you could actually run a camera over it as well. And now I've turned it into an excuse to be at Fringe. So
perfect. Lucky for us. So it's sort of sold as, you're telling some of the behind the scenes look at some of the things you've learnt through food and food with politics and politicians. Have you been in contact with those politicians? You've obviously got some stories that you're telling about them in a Fringe show. Did you have to give them a heads up and say, hey, you know how you told me that thing off camera all those years ago that didn't make the TV show? I'm going to talk about it now.
I will say this. I mean, I am a journalist still, and I don't attack people by telling stories that they aren't okay with being told, right? And I'm also not a vicious person. I actually find that that observation, noticing things, it doesn't have to be a cruel sport. I mean, it can be funny, but everything I do around politics, I try to do it not through viciousness, but through curiosity. And so, yes, there are some very funny behind-the-scenes tales, as you can imagine if you've spent, any number of years travelling around to politicians' houses, sometimes with a breastfeeding baby clipped to my front, and going through their houses and getting them to talk about things they don't normally talk about. But it doesn't mean that I'm defaming anybody, that's for sure.
And that's the beauty of kitchen cabinet as well. We get to have a look behind the scenes at how politicians live and the food and how food has shaped their life, because I'm a big foodie as well, so I know how much of an impact food can have. Did you end up were people hard to convince to sign on in the early days, and then how did that change?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And when I first pitched the idea, the ABC sort of was a bit like, what? But then we made it for ABC2, and I was a political journalist who'd never made a TV show before, and I also was really scared. Like my worst nightmare was, oh my God, what happens when Laurie Oakes sees this? And actually Laurie has been like really, really, I was frightened by that, but he's like, that's a really good show. And I was like, oh God, thank you, Laurie.
It's the professional pride, I guess.
But it's just, I mean, the cooking is really just a vehicle to ask them the sorts of questions you ask people in their homes, but you wouldn't ask them in a radio studio, right? Like you know how that works. And so, and when I was trying to pitch it to the politicians in the very beginning for the first series, yes, it was such a crazy sounding idea. So I did do a few South Australians who knew me. So like the first one we ever filmed was with Penny Wong years and years and years ago. And, Penny Wong, she's obviously got brain the size of a planet and obviously one of the most powerful women in Australia now. But she doesn't love being sort of the centre of attention or being asked sort of super personal questions. So yes, she was hesitant about it, but she also gave me the opportunity. The other thing is, look, when we also did Amanda Vanstone and Christopher Pine together, which is one day I'll release the entire, director's cut. It won't be any cuts because it was hilarious.
I can imagine.
And Pine, by the way, really said yes straight away because he loves being the centre of attention, unlike Penny Wong. But then, as the filming date grew closer, he really chickened out and he really wanted to pull out. And I just had to say to him, listen, ABC funding is scarce enough. We've devoted resources to this, so we're coming. And then,
I've got your address now. There's a camera booked in. We will be there.
Right. Yeah. And then as he left the shoot, which got very raucous and hilarious, involved singing and all sorts. As he left, I said, that wasn't too bad, was it? And he said, career ending, and then just left. But when it went to air, and it was the first show that ever went to air, he phoned me from, I don't know, he was in Hobart Airport or something, and he said a person had come up to him and said, do you know what? I'm allowed to use semi-swear words on this show?
Yeah.
It's like...
Hover my finger over the dump button.
It rhymes with banker.
Oh, yeah, no, that's okay.
So some guy came up to him and said, oh, Christopher Pine, I saw that show about you last night. Do you know what? I've always thought you were a complete wanker, but now I quite like you.
And that's every politician's dream, right?
Right.
Someone saying, I don't think that anymore.
Yeah, although sometimes they think it's gone incredibly well, but I'm looking at it and I'm going like, ooh, wow. Like, so people take out of it a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But the key thing, I suppose, is I am a curious person, I'm a nosy person, and I really like talking to people with whose views I don't necessarily agree. Like, I think it's always interesting to do that in a friendly format, because that way you don't end up down some wormhole having a shouting match. You actually get to understand how people come to the views that they have, and normally it's through their childhood, through their history, and the food of their childhood always tells you something.
And you can tell the way someone cooks, and it must be an effort for them to decide what they're going to cook for you.
Oh, well, actually, I find that women are much more anxious about everything filming a cooking show, because they know that if they look bad in the kitchen, there'll be ramifications, whereas the guy's just like, hi, I've never held cutlery before. Come on in. I'm sure I'll be great at this.
There's something we can learn from that, I think. I'm sure I'll be great.
Right? Yeah. Anyway, so I talked a bit about some of those war stories and what I learned from Onions, but also I'm talking in the show a little bit about the kind of etiquette of journalists and politicians eating together, because there are kind of rules that aren't very clearly set out, but about like what's on the record, what's off the record, what's the best way to get the most amount of information that you can use. And so I have a bit of a look into that too. And I also have a look at the evolution of fearlessness in food leadership across the ages of politics, and I'm starting with Don Dunstan, who not only published a cookbook whilst in office as a man, but also used the book to just absolutely pay out on Australian cooking. I mean, you would never, ever use the kind of language that he did when even as a go at the CWA. It's unbelievable.
It takes a very brave man to do that.
Right? Well, no one would do it anymore.
No.
Anyway.
No. Oh, well, fabulous insights. I'm excited to see it. Annabelle Crabb, the grilling season with Annabelle Crabb is at the Fringe this weekend, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then in a couple of weeks on the 16th and 17th of March at 6:30 in the Flamingo at Gluttony. Annabelle Crabb, thank you so much for your time today.
Real pleasure. Lovely to see you.
I'm glad I wasn't cooking for you. That's way too much pressure. It's 13 minutes to 4 here on 5AA. After this, you're going to hear about a doggy that has been at the RSPCA for an extremely long time, and hopefully we can set up a little Tinder date for her.
Join us every Friday from 3 p.m. when renowned Adelaide chef Chris Jarma from Jarma's Kitchen joins Stacey Lee for Foodie Friday. Thanks to Smeg, seamlessly pairing performance with design. Taste the difference with Smeg. And Parafield Airport Liquor. They have the perfect partner for every dish.
Sky News Australia investigates the greatest mystery in aviation history. The unsolved case of flight MH370.
It's time to acknowledge that everything has failed, but not everything has been tried.
It's a cover-up. We need to find the airplane. 238 people were murdered.
MH370, 10 years on. Stream now. Download the Sky News Australia app. Conditions apply.
Specsaver's advanced hearing aid technology helps cut through the background noise, available in almost 300 stores, along with experienced audiology professionals like Catherine Launchberry.
Hi, Matthew. Yes, our hearing aids can also stream music, movies, even answer the phone. We've got latest tech hearing aids to suit your lifestyle, all at everyday low prices.
And how do we know which one's the right, Catherine?
Well, hearing aids come in various shapes and sizes, and the cost is determined by the level of technology used. Specsaver's audiology professionals are always here to help, with 12 months aftercare at no extra cost and a 90-day no-fuss returns policy. Plus, those eligible for the Government Hearing Services program can access hearing aids with no out-of-pocket expense. We encourage customers to shop around and compare with our upfront prices.
Sounds great. Thanks, Catherine. Head in store or visit specsavers.com.au/hearing. Always follow directions for use. Conditions apply under the Australian Government Hearing Services Program.
Live cheaper this summer with Cheap as Chips.
Cheap as chips.
Get some rest with all mattresses a whopping 20% off. Get a Blaupunkt 55-inch TV, now only $499. Keep the grass at bay with a petrol lawnmower, only $299. And don't miss these cheap everyday deals. Top Dog Pet Bed, $19. And Easy Wetter Potting Mix, 3 for $14. Plus Vanish Stain Remover, a hot buy at $6.49. Do summer cheaper at Cheap as Chips, in-store or online.
More than 17,000 Australians, both young and old, will die from stroke or heart attack caused by hypertension or high blood pressure this coming year. Many could be prevented through early detection. But right now, an Adelaide research team is seeking volunteers for a study to trial a potential treatment. If you've been diagnosed with moderate hypertension and you're between 18 and 72, you could be eligible. Go to fusiontrials.com.au/hypertension or call 08 7077 6996. You will be compensated for your time.
Harvey Norman Samsung TV and soundbar run out on now. Be quick for huge savings while stocks last. Save $1,174 on Samsung 65-inch OLED TV, now $3,821. Save $1,200 on Samsung 75-inch Neo QLED TV, now $3,295. Save a huge $1,500 on Samsung 85-inch The Frame QLED TV, now $3,795. And save over $700 on top-of-the-line Samsung Surround Sound soundbar, now just $1,283. Harvey Norman Samsung TV and soundbar run out on now.
With more stores close to home and everyday low prices, great food lives at Foodland, the mighty South Aussies.
5AA Afternoons with Stacey Lee.
9 minutes to 4 here on 5AA. I've got an update on the bushfire I told you about earlier. This is at Upper Hermitage in the Mount Lofty Ranges. It's been upgraded to a watch and act. So if you're in that area of Upper Hermitage in the Mount Lofty Ranges, the CFS is advising you to leave now. They're saying it may threaten your safety. Check if the path is clear and go to a safer place. Don't enter the area. It's a scrub fire. It's burning in an easterly direction towards Lower Hermitage and the township of Inglewood. So if you're anywhere near the following roads, conditions are currently changing and you should consider leaving. Range Road, Warner Road, Lower Hermitage Road, Millbrook Road, Adelaide Gully Road, Mount Gawler Road and Bagshaw Road. I know that's a lot of information. Basically, it's upgraded to a watch and act at Upper Hermitage in the Mount Lofty Ranges. If you're there, check the path is safe and clear and leave now because the bushfire may threaten your safety. We'll keep you updated this afternoon on the station, and if you do need to call the CFS, it's 1800 362 361. 8 minutes to 4 here on 5AA. After 4, Rowie and Timmy G are on with the sports show. Rowie, hello.
One player, Gus Brayshaw from Melbourne, 28 years old, in the prime of his footy life, has to retire due to concussion. He was medically retired. He wanted to play. His neurosurgeon said, don't. His family get around him. A joint decision. He retires. One of Melbourne's great team first players, highly respected. Very, very sad in actual fact. He won't be in a club of his own. I can see this happening more and more and more and more, Stacey, as this goes on. Then in the other corner, a lad cops an 18-week AFL suspension for inappropriate behaviour towards women. So his club then sacks him immediately. His career's done. What a waste of talent and what a wasted opportunity for that lad on the day that Gus Brayshaw gets told he can't play.
Yep.
One was taken away from him and the other idiot took it away from himself. So we'll cover that at 4.
Looking forward to it, Rowie.
Thanks, Stacey.
Thank you. Listen to Rowie and Timmy G after 4. But now it's time for a little bit of Tinder work. We're hoping we can find a home for Mia. She is a dog that's been with the RSPCA for almost 600 days. Izzy Dew is from the animal behaviour team at the RSPCA. Izzy, how's Mia going?
She's going very well. She loves being in her foster home, but she is longing for that forever family.
Aw, tell us about her. How old is she? What sort of dog? What sort of family would be suited?
She's a 3.5 mixed breed dog. She would suit a family who's home more often than not and a family with older children and ideally no other pets, but she has lived with a cat before. She is absolutely lovely. She's got so much resilience with everything that she's been through, and she's a very affectionate dog. She would make an absolutely great companion.
So is there any reason why she's been with you for 600 days? Any behavioural issues that people should be aware of?
So she did used to struggle being at home alone. She certainly has come a long way with that, but that's why we're looking for a family that is home more often than not. She also is fearful of other dogs. So, again, we've worked very hard on that, and she has come a long way, but she cannot go into a home with other dogs and doesn't enjoy their company. She also has some medical considerations as well, which I think has been the biggest roadblock at this point. So her medication cost monthly is around $225. But I think we're hoping as she gets into a home, we might be able to reduce some of that medication cost. And we have had some incredibly generous donors come forward, and the first year of her medication, once she is adopted, will be covered by those donations. But yeah, I think that's been the biggest roadblock so far.
Okay, so if there's someone listening thinking, yeah, I'd love to meet Mia, or she might be good for me, what should they do?
They should call our team on 0427 725 692. That will put you through to us. We can go through Mia's information and see if you might be a great Tinder match.
Oh, and I'm looking at a photo of her now. It's on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream. How could you say no to that face?
I know. She is a really gorgeous girl, so we're really hoping for the best.
Yeah. Oh, well, Izzy, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And
no worries. Thank you so
hopefully
much,
we see
Stacey.
Mia with a family soon.
Yes, we hope so.
That's Izzy Dew from the RSPCA. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. We've been talking about lots of different issues, and we've had lots of calls. Unfortunately, we don't have time for any more because we are getting closer to 4 o'clock news. Thank you so much to Josh this week, who's helped produce the program. I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I'll be at the Taylor Swift concert in Sydney. Yes, I know, I'm sorry, I am going though. Angie McBride, though, you're in safe hands. You might have heard of her. Of course you've heard of her. She'll be here with you, keeping you company for your afternoon tomorrow, but I'll be back on Monday. Thank you very much for everything this week. Appreciate the calls and texts. We'll give away the Wallace Cinemas family pass to a caller we had earlier. Let's give it to Mary. We're going to give it to Mary. She called up about oats earlier in our Costbusters segment. So Mary, you've won the Wallace Cinemas family pass. Josh will get in touch to give you those. Have a great weekend, everyone. I will chat to you Monday.
If the bank's declined your business